Seattle. How's everybody doing out there? Excellent. All right, I am Dan Pasternak. I'll be your host and moderator for this evening. Did we enjoy the movie? Oh my God, I see people who came dressed for the occasion. I love it. All right, 45 years ago, this year, Airplane landed in movie theaters and motion picture comedies were never the same again. It was one of the first comedy blockbusters and inarguably remains one of the greatest. Do you agree? I personally saw it twice at the Bruin Theater in Westwood because I had to go back to catch all the jokes I missed because I was laughing so much the first time. The influence of this film is singular and enduring. I don't know if you guys have this. If you don't, you need to get this. In their recent book, Surely You Can't Be Serious, The True Story of Airplane, the filmmakers and many of the participants and admirers of the film enumerate the process of making it and its impact. Let me just read you something. My pal Judd Apatow said this: when you make a list of the best movies of all time, you're always going to put Airplane on it. And if movies like that aren't being made right now, it's because people aren't smart enough or funny enough to make them.
Yeah.
If someone made a movie as funny as Airplane, right now it would make $1 billion. That's what Judd Apatow thinks. Do you guys agree? Well then, without any further ado, it is my honor to introduce Ted Stryker himself, Mr. Robert Hays, and the co-writer, co-director of this classic and so much more, Mr. David Zucker. Guys, thank you so much for doing this.
That was nice of us, yes.
It was. So, 45 years in, a director's cut? Like, why mess with perfection? What are you doing?
Well, the director's cut thing, that's a complete scam. Jerry and Jim and I, we have done several of these screenings, and we watch the movie and we say, oh, this could go faster. So we actually cut 2 minutes out of it. So that's what happened.
So you added nothing. You only took
We
away.
added nothing. No, that's the thing about additional materials for comedy. Deleted scenes. Well, they're deleted because they weren't funny. And so we would preview the movie, and we cut out everything that wasn't funny. And so that's what. But there was still some cool scenes that in those days Paramount would throw them away, so they're lost. But on the DVD, there's still, they still have some deleted scenes on them that they did save for some reason.
Yeah, they wanted to add scenes, but they threw them away. So the director's cut. When Coppola did his, I think he showed the film to the folks at 20th, and they said, you got to cut out 10 minutes, or something like that, 5 or 10 minutes. So he went back and looked at it, and he said, yeah, he added 12 minutes. And then he came back and played it, and they said, you see? So they don't know. They don't know.
But this was kind of your process when you made the film. My understanding is that you showed it to all college audiences.
Yes.
And that sort of informed the final round of editing on the film, right?
Well, the first preview, actually the first time we ever showed it was to Mike Eisner, the president of Paramount, at his home screening room. And he loved it. And mostly, we could hear his kids who were like 9. That's who the movie is meant for. And they were cackling behind in the projection booth. And Eisner just jumped up and said, "This is great, I love it." And so he didn't seem to know anything about it. He said, "What was the budget? Where did you shoot it?"
This is the head of the studio.
Yeah, he's at 30,000 feet. And well, actually, Hayes didn't know anything either. But what did we do? I had to explain it. But so we said, well, we have to go out and preview it first. And he said, "What do you mean? We wanted to recut it because we knew that there was probably too much in it." So he said, "No, it's perfect." So we said, "No, we have to preview. We want to take it out to colleges." We said, "You can't take it off the lot until you screen it for the Paramount executives." So we had to screen it for like 20 Paramount executives, and we knew that would be death in a screening room. So we insisted that Paramount's audience recruitment guy, get an audience. So comes time for the screening, it's about 20 minutes and there's just the 20 studio executives. There's nobody there. He was completely incompetent and couldn't recruit anybody. So Jim and Jerry and I went out onto Melrose Boulevard and started pulling people out of the lines for Happy Days in Laverne and Shirley. And so we had a half-filled audience. I don't think that English was the first language of a lot of these people. And so the movie played, and it just was terrible. It bombed. It was obviously a failure. So unfortunately, Katzenberg and Eisner were such great cheerleaders. They said, "Don't worry about it. We'll go. We'll take it out." And Eisner said, "I get it. I'm gonna preview it for actual humans, not studios." So, and that's what we did. That's kind of a long explanation of that, but
Is that when the reel?
that was then. There was a premiere, and there was the
that's very
projectionist.
funny.
Yeah, the projectionist. Oh, thank you. Yeah, the projectionist switched the reels. So.
Switched the reels, and Jim went running up there, and he said, "You've got the wrong reel on." And the guy was over having a cigarette, and he said, "What?" And he said, "You got the wrong reel. You put on reel 5 before 4, or 3 before." I mean, it was just a mess. He said, "Huh?" And then finally,
Jim says, "I'm the director."
No, I know what I'm doing. I'm the projectionist. Well, I'm the director. I know this is fun. And so then Jim started to try to get it off the thing. The guy said, wait a minute, I'll do it. And then got into it, and the whole thing, the audience was sitting there wondering, what's going on? Because the scene started with something else, so it didn't set it up properly.
Yeah, well, it was funny. Jim's reaction was, "Well, this movie's really clipping along." and then somebody said after the movie, somebody went up to Jerry and said, "The movie was great. We really liked it, but you shouldn't have had the shit hitting the fan twice."
But then I wouldn't have had to go to see the movie twice because I was laughing so hard when the shit hit the fan that I missed whatever was after that.
Okay, that's fair enough.
So one of the really interesting things to me, David, about what I learned in reading this book is that, and we've talked about this a little bit, but your influences, like your brother Jerry was citing that the influences in your childhood were not really comedy. They were like, he was citing, Untouchables and Sea Hunt and Dragnet.
Yeah, we liked serious movies and serious B movies. In fact, we got the idea to do Airplane from a 1957 black and white movie called 0 Hour. And, serious, had the same plot, but we also, we like comedies sometimes, but more we like to go and watch serious movies and then dub in our own lines. Like, we do jokes like, and it's not great, but very serious, the plane's supposed to land, and they said, "What time is the plane coming in?" It's 800 hours. And we dub in, "Where's your hand?" "It's right here at the end of my wrist." And so we were going to redub 0 Hour. That was the first idea. And then one of us just had the idea, why don't we just remake the movie with serious actors? And that became fresh idea.
And apparently you had a screenplay for Airplane based on Zero Hour years before making the film, right? Because one of my favorite stories in the book is that you sent your adaptation of Zero Hour to Robert Stack's representation.
Right, we did a very early version of it, which had Beaver Cleaver flying down the plane, which would have put you out of a job. But, it was a very, we didn't know what we were doing, but we did know how to put the jokes in. We didn't know what a plot was, but fortunately, Zero Hour had one. But we knew from the start that the role of Kramer had to be played by Robert Stack. So we were just, we're like these kids from Milwaukee. We called up his agent and said, well, we did Kentucky Fried Theater. We wrote a script. And we want Robert Stack to do it. And he said, the guy says, is this a go picture? And we said, what's a go picture? And he said, come back when you have the money. And so, we still couldn't raise the money for Airplane. It was actually called Kentucky Fried Airplane at the time, the first script. And so we decided we'd do Kentucky Fried Movie first, just to kind of get the experience. And then thank you, John Landis directed that. And we kind of were on the set. We'd never been on a movie set before. And we kind of learned how to direct from John Landis.
Wow.
Yeah, so, and then after Kentucky Fried Movie, then we went back, rewrote the Airplane script. And also we knew that not only could we direct it, but we had to direct it. So we had to hold out. And Paramount, when we got to Paramount, they shopped the script around to all these Hollywood directors, and we kept saying, no, we wouldn't do that. We had to do it.
All right, now let's just back up a second, because you talk about being, kids from Milwaukee. How did your unit first come together?
Well, Jerry and I grew up in the same house. No, and then Jim, actually, the Abrams and the Zuckers were very close family friends. Our fathers were in the real estate business together. It was called Abrahams and Zucker Real Estate.
Oh.
And our sisters were roommates, and our moms were friends, and they would come home for dinner, and Jerry, Jim, and I would end up in the basement rec room playing ping pong, and we kind of bonded over that. So that's how we got together. And then after college, we were able to find some videotape equipment, which these big, reel-to-reel Sony decks, which that was how you did video then. And so I was able to borrow some of that, and we started a theater called Kentucky Fried Theater, which combined the video bits. We did video spoofs of commercials and live sketches, and some improv, but we weren't really interested in improv.
Now, where did you grow up, Bob?
I grew up all over the place. My dad was a Marine in the Marine Corps, and there's one there, there's a couple there. And so I've been across country by car 15 times, like coast to coast. Anybody ever see The Great Santini?
Yeah.
And they get in the 4 o'clock in the morning, and they load up the station wagon, and they head off, and that was us. And then 3 years in Turkey, so it was moving all the time, being a gypsy, which is funny. That's why so many actors come from military families. Several books have been written about military brats who become actors. But anyway, that's where I was while they were off doing their fun in Milwaukee.
And when you were thinking about becoming an actor, were you thinking comedy, or were you thinking you wanted to be straight, serious actor?
We were in Nebraska I was going to graduate high school and then went to the University of Omaha. And then we were transferred back to Southern California. And I got into this little college, a small little college next to where we were living. And I was so late getting into it that there was nothing left. There was beginning track and field, or track and field PE class and beginning acting. And that was it. I took those so I could get into school. And then I found out I had enough credits in track and field, and who wants to just run if you don't have to? So that was it. And it probably was, comedy was probably much more fun for me. And it was during that time that something occurred to me. And it was what they told us when we were shooting this. But it was something that had occurred to me that when I was doing a serious play, you know the masks of comedy and drama? One's smiling, one's frowning. When I would do a serious show, I had a big grin in my belly. And when I did a really funny thing, I had a real sad frown in my belly inside. It just seemed to push against it. And when they said, we want everyone to be straight, we want to play this straight, it was really fun. It was refreshing. It was something that I kind of knew what they wanted. And what I had been doing wasn't really that. You know, I was doing a sitcom at the time. And they went to see...
Yeah, that was scary.
One person applauded for your sitcom? People remember Angie?
It was called Angie.
There we go.
But they came over to tell me on our set that we cast you. He was like, oh, great. And then they said, we gotta go. So they left. And I went back out around the site, out on stage, and we were rehearsing the show. And it's a 3-camera. You've got 300 people in the audience. You got the cameras recording you, and that's millions looking at you. And then you've got one sun shadow on a stage like that is really about 5 or 6 or 7 shadows on you. It's just a bastardization of everything. And it's also hold for laughs, and an applause sign comes, a laugh sign comes on. The guy doing the stand-up warm-ups for you is over there going, and so that's just so, it's strange. It's very strange. So that was totally different than this, and this is what we really liked doing. This kind of thing.
So yeah, so we cast Bob, and we were excited, and we saw Angie, and we said, oh, what have we done? It wasn't your fault. So, yeah.
And every day they'd come in and they'd look at me and say, what have we done?
Yeah, what have we done?
So David, you mentioned Kentucky Fried Movie, which I think a few people remember. How did Kentucky Fried Movie come about, and talk about what you took from that experience that pushed you towards airplane?
Well, it was a lower budget, so we could actually raise the money. But even that, we had to put in about $25,000 into making a short in 35 millimeter of 4 of these sketches that would be in Kentucky Fried Movie, and that we showed around to all the studios, and they still turned it down. And then we had a friend who was part of an exhibitor chain, and he said, I can get you the money for this if I show this to my friends in San Francisco who own, it was United Artists Theater Circuit. And so what they did, smart, they played it in their theaters for a crowd, and they saw that the audience laughed. So then we got the money. And that's how Kentucky Fried Movie came about. It was a $600,000 budget and probably made 20 million, something like that. So,
And it started your career, and it started John Landis's career.
And it started John Landis's career, right? Yeah. So, and we learned a lot from him. He added a lot of jokes to it. But I think there was a lot of things that we thought we would have done different. But by the end of that, we thought we were ready to direct. And so we were very, self-confident, very, very headstrong.
But when you think about Kentucky Fried Movie, 2 of the biggest comedy blockbusters of that period, and I think still of that time, came on the heels of Kentucky Fried Movie. So Landis's next film was Animal House.
Woo!
And you guys did everything.
Yeah, so it came out of that. So.
All right, so how does it get to Paramount? How does Airplane get to Paramount?
Well, the script was being turned down by everyone, and Evidently, Michael Eisner, the head of Paramount, was having dinner with somebody and asked if they had, this lady who was a reader for United Artists, and he asked if she had read anything good lately, and she said, well, there is one script, it's a comedy on an airplane, done by the guys who did Kentucky Fried Movie. And Eisner, as the story goes, he kind of lit up, he excused himself from the table, and in those days you didn't have cell phones, so he actually had to make a call from a payphone to Jeff Katzenberg saying, have these guys in my office on Monday. And so we got the call from Katzenberg.
And when did it occur to you that the three of you as a unit had, because had that ever been done?
No, I don't think so. I don't think anybody had a three-man
Directing team.
Yeah, directing team. So, and plus we were first-time directors, and so this was a steep mountain to climb. So finally, I think we were almost going to go with another studio with, it was called Avco Embassy at the time, and so for some reason Paramount thought, okay, we'll let you guys direct, and that was it.
Now, just in terms of process, this is for either one of you. What is the process of three people directing at once?
Well, you can't all, scream at the actors at the same time. So, although we felt like it, but
So basically,
oh yeah, I think pretty much. Yeah, this is how it worked. Yeah, and that worked out very, very smoothly. And what happened was that we divided the labor. Yeah.
So that's what it's like.
That's what it was.
So let's talk about, to me, maybe one of the most genius aspects of Airplane, and there's many to talk about, but I really want to get into the casting of this film. And I'm going to go sort of part by part. And by the way, we have some audience questions as well, because and we got a lot of questions about various actors. But I just want to go, because it's written with a very specific tone and vision. So let's start with the role of Ted Stryker.
Ted Stryker is the one you played.
oh, forgotten. It's been 25 years.
Yeah.
So who did you have in mind for the role, and who did you audition?
Well, outside of Jerry Manders, I think we kind of started from scratch. And actually, one of the actors we had in mind in the beginning, before Kentucky Fried Movie even, was Charlie Martin Smith. For some reason, he was. Nobody even remembers, but
He was in American Graffiti.
yeah,
He was Toad in
yeah.
American
I never
Graffiti.
told you that. Anyways,
I didn't know that.
but once we were casting at Paramount, then we auditioned a lot of actors, and occasionally we'd get suggestions from the studio, which we were not in favor of. Like they wanted to put in Chevy Chase or Bill Murray, and those guys are very funny, but we didn't want a comedian, a comic, known comic for the movie. And then, it got worse. We then we heard they wanted Barry Manilow. True story. And so and we were all ready to quit, and we'll walk. And,
Well, he's not a comedian.
so and also Howard Koch, our executive producer, was very good at this stuff, and he would call their agents and say, these are three young guys who've never directed before. You don't want to do this. But the other one who came in at the studio was kind of high on was Bruce Jenner, and for some reason
For Ted.
for Ted Stryker, yeah. And
Over and over, right?
well, for some reason, somebody was behind this. Somebody wanted him in the movie, so he came in twice to read, and then three times in all. And the third time, he came in to read for Elaine, I guess. So this is. way ahead of its time. I didn't realize we were very naive at the time. But
It was just a little indication that
Yeah.
it might go another way.
Now, you say you didn't want a comedian, but a rather famous comedian did screen test for the part.
oh yeah, well, we were fans of David Letterman, and we had seen him at the Comedy Store, and kind of he was an acquaintance, and so we had him in to read. He was great, very funny guy, and then he didn't really want to be an actor, and I understood that, but we screen tested him anyways. So we have this great screen test with David Letterman doing the scene where it's in the hospital where there's a spit tape, and then so we were on Letterman in a year after Airplane was released. We were all on Letterman's show, and we played the screen test for him, and he just wasn't an actor, didn't feel comfortable acting. And
But wasn't his agent? His agent said, "You don't want him. He's not an actor."
right, well, you know,
It's his own agent.
Yeah, what happened was his agent was on the set, and he's standing next to my brother, and Jerry says, "Well, I think we can make an actor out of him yet." And the agent said, "Fat chance." You know, so
When he left, apparently on his way back out to his car in the parking lot, he told you later, he was saying, please don't let him cast me in this.
Oh yeah, so Jerry calls him and said, "You didn't get the part," and he said, "Oh, thank you." He was so happy not to get the part.
But he's so funny. I mean, how many people do you really actually know about David Letterman? You know what I mean? He's wonderful. He's so funny. But he's a comedian, and comedians like to tell the joke, and they don't want to say, "Cut, okay, let's go again. Tell the joke again." You've done it, so you want to tell something different.
But he does get your sensibility. If you can find their appearance, the three of them, on the late night show, I love when you guys were on, because so they cut to commercial every time between little segments, and they came wearing one sport coat, and they had one pair of glasses, and every time they cut away and came back, a different member of the team is wearing the sport coat with glasses. Then they show the clip, and then David Letterman is wearing this one sport coat and wearing glasses.
And he didn't know what we were going to do when we came out there. In fact, I think I had a fake mustache when I came out. And then the next break, I think Jerry was wearing it.
So Bob, when did you become aware that this script existed and they were casting for this role?
My agent had a new agent, a woman named Beth Foyke, that came into his office as a new agent in the office, and she called Howard when she was reading about, looking at the breakdowns of what's going on, and she called Howard and said, "I've got your 10th striker." And now by this time, you've been all over the country.
Yeah, we went to New York, and we couldn't find
Chicago, Minneapolis, even Seattle.
But so they showed us.
They had to pay extra because it's a lot further away. It's much further than New York. It's not. Oh, okay.
But Howard showed us a picture of this guy, Robert Hays, yeah. And we said, well, he looks good, but can he talk? So we had him in, and you read, and it was good.
They liked the
Yeah,
reading.
we
We
liked
all
it.
got along.
Yeah.
They liked the reading, and then they said, let's screen test you. And fortunately for me, they had already, chosen Julie Haggard for the role of Elaine, and so they wanted to. It's a very special little woman there. She's great. So the screen tested us, and I don't know, it was my agent told me, or if one of you told me, I don't know what it was, but someone said, they like your spit take. And I think, okay, well, that's good. It's off camera, but that's good.
It could have been done by a machine.
Yes. Well, you can adjust that really. The machine did quite a good job of it. But anyway, so that was it. Then they came over to the set on the same lot where we were doing Angie, the series Angie. And that's when they told me, we want you, you've got the role. and we jumped around excited. I was very excited. My first feature film. And then they left, and that's when you guys talked about, we got to take a look at this show that he's doing. And then they looked at it and went, oh, God.
Bob, could we coerce you into maybe showing us this spit take that got you the part?
I'd have to be off camera. You'd have to go.
Well, you can aim it that direction.
I'd have to be standing over on that side. So you'd only see the water spewing out. So, you know, we could try that. It wouldn't do any good, but we could try it.
Well, we talked about Julie Haggerty, so talk about the same process of finding your Elaine.
Yeah, that was just as hard, and so, but we were in New York, and we read other actresses, among whom was Sigourney Weaver. It was before she was Sigourney Weaver, and she came to the audition dressed in a 1940s stewardess costume with the hair and the whole. I mean, she wanted the part, and it was interesting. She was very nice, and you know, among other things, she said she didn't want to do the line, you know, sit on your face and ring. So Jerry and Jim and I look at each other and we go, oh, good to know. And so also Shelley Long read for it, and she was good. But when Julie came in, Julie made us laugh. And
Did you ride up in the elevator with her?
I actually rode up with the elevator, and we made out.
She had
but nothing more.
that had nothing to do with her getting the part.
Yeah.
But she didn't even know who she was riding in the elevator with, right? And then she gets up there and goes in the room. The way she tells it, she goes in the room and it's packed with women in there that are there to read. And she thought, oh my God, with her little voice, I don't have a chance with this. This is. And then she goes in and sees them. It's like, okay, you guys, and then read for them. But the way that they had mentioned to me is that she was so perfect. The person they saw in the elevator was like, oh God, I hope she can read. I hope she can say the words right. And then she, perfect, absolutely perfect.
All right, I need you to talk about this, because I did grow up in LA as a diehard Laker fan. Talk about the road that led you to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Then again, you know, we were, you know, the universe corrected our own mistakes. You know, our first choice in the original script, we wrote it for Pete Rose. But Pete Rose was, and all it was the only dialogue was, "You're Pete Rose." No, I'm not. You know, whatever. And that was it. And so, but evidently it was baseball season when we were actually going to do the movie. So Kareem was the second choice, and
He's always in the playoffs for the World Series.
yeah,
Right when we'd be filming.
right. And Kareem turned it down. So Howard called up his agent and said, "What's going on?" And he said, "Well, Kareem doesn't want to do it, but I think I can get him to do it if he wants to buy an Oriental rug, which he collected, and the rug cost $30,000, and we were only offering $25,000. So if we could raise the price for another $5,000, he would let Kareem buy this rug, because he had a tight rein on Kareem's finances. So sure enough, we did it. So that could be. We thought this was one of the most blatant, dishonest agent ploys ever done. But sure, then a month and a half later, we see on the cover in Time magazine, Kareem posing with his new rug. So he actually did, yeah. But he evidently liked the script, and he was great. I mean, he's not an actor, and that's part of what makes it funny. But fortunately, we had him seated facing forward, so he was reading off of cue cards.
Wow.
Yeah, that was an interesting fact.
I didn't know that. All right. Now, casting, and I'm really going to get into sort of this white-hot core of these actors that were not known for comedy. Some of this casting is so inventive and so ingenious. First of all, talk about the actors that you had in mind, including the ones that you approached in the past, and sort of how you wound up casting some of these actors who, again, had not only not been known for comedy, but may have not even believed they had any facility for it.
Well, we were going for bigger names. We tried George Kennedy, Vincent Price, Jack Webb. Yeah, we met with Jack Webb, and
I think Jack Webb was also originally offered the part of Dean Wormer in Animal House, and turned that down too.
Well, yeah, but Vincent Price said his biggest career regret was turning down Airplane. So, but we lucked out. We had Leslie Nielsen and Leslie. I thank you for Leslie, but he's dead. But Leslie was so keyed into this kind of comedy. He read the script, he loved it immediately, and he said to his agent, "I want to do this. Don't tell them this, but I would pay them to do this." and so we had Leslie in for a meeting, and Leslie was our fourth choice. He was, he wasn't really well known. Oh yeah, well, he was such a B actor or C level actor that when we came in and we said, how about we can get this guy Leslie Nielsen, and our casting director, who was already on edge because his name was going on a comedy movie where it was Robert Stack and Lloyd Bridges and Peter Grimm, so he would be drummed out of business for this. So he finally lost it. He said, Leslie Nielsen's the guy you cast the night before, and we were 3 weeks away still from photography. So, but we met him, and he was great, and he really wanted a part, so he wanted to kind of, tell us that he had some experience. So he said, I did a MASH episode once, and we look at each other, so we'll pretend you didn't say that.
But you wound up reinventing his career.
Yeah, well, it was great for Leslie. Yeah,
he told me that, because we were sitting talking on the set about it, he said, I love this insanity. I've always wanted to do this insanity, but I was afraid to do it. And I said, really? And he said, yeah. He said, I get up close to it sometimes, but the way I look at it is I got up to the door, but the boys pushed me through it. And he was a
closet comedian.
Oh, yeah.
And he brought this little diaphragm fart machine onto the set, and he would, with a very straight face, he would talk to somebody and go, and that's what he had. Pretty soon, he was selling them to all the crew members, and it was causing chaos, and we were almost not going to make our days because everybody was doing his stuff. And so
because Dave said, he bought a box and was selling them to the actors and the crew, and so I don't know how many people are familiar with the way they run it on a set. They'll yell out for the film when it was filmed to start rolling. So they'll say roll camera, and then they turn it on and it has to get up to speed. And then the same with the sound. They roll the sound. So they say roll sound, and you would hear speed. And then you say roll camera, and they say speed. And finally, Jerry was out there with the camera with us, and he said, okay, stop it. He said, get those things off the set. And there was pure silence. And Leslie, way over the side, after about 5 seconds, went.
So,
we cast him because we thought he had absolutely no sense of humor.
And from what I understand, he was diabolical with his use. Like, he was trying to make you break, right?
Well, in the scene in the cockpit, when they say, can you fly this plane? I say, surely you can't be serious. The first time when I say that. And he says, I am serious, don't call me Shirley. And then it's a 3-shot of Lorna Patterson and Leslie and me. So then they did the 2-shot of them, and he's a good boy all this time. But then they turned the camera on me. And so it's my single, and the whole time he's saying, Mr. Stryker, can you land this plane? And I had to keep a straight face, and that was the hardest day of the whole filming for me.
And my understanding is that even when cameras weren't rolling, Julie, I guess, tells a story that like, one day the Paramount executives were on set.
Yeah, well, I mean, he was relentless, and it didn't matter. It didn't matter to him to the point where he told me about, he loved golf, and he was playing a golf tournament at Little Rock, Arkansas. And the mayor of Little Rock had a party for the celebrities that were in the golf tournament. And as they're sitting there, the mayor's mother was sitting next to him. And he goes over to Leslie and says, Leslie, my mother is sitting over here. I'd just love to meet you. He said, well, that'd be fine. Excuse me, I'll be right back. And they walk over there, and he says, Mother, this is Mr. Leslie Nielsen. And he said, well, ma'am, it's nice to meet you. And her eyes got big, and the mayor was looking at him, and Leslie just smiled.
The story that I heard that Julie told is that these high-powered Paramount executives are visiting the set, and everybody's nervous, and Julie walks past, and he goes, oh, Julie. She was mortified, apparently. So now, Peter Graves, I understand.
He didn't have that partnership.
Oh, no, he didn't.
No.
But I hear that his reaction to being offered this film was not what you had hoped.
Well, no, the story is, we heard he read it and he just threw the script across the room and said, this is the worst piece of trash I've ever read. And then, years later, when I had more experience directing, I realized that when actors get a script, they only read their own parts. And to Peter, it may have appeared that he was playing a funny pedophile. So Howard got him to meet with us, and he was expecting a few just drug-crazed, lunatics, and we were pretty preppy, not too long out of Milwaukee. So he decided that okay, he'll take a chance.
I do understand that he was happy he did the film, but there was a story about speaking to a child in a grocery store, and the mother, I guess, had seen the film and just ushered the child away.
And Bob has a story about when Peter Graves met your dad.
Well, it was at the screening at the DGA, and my dad, like I mentioned, he was a Marine fighter pilot, 6'3", and my little 5'2" mom. And I brought them along as my guests to see the film. And this was just all big, new time stuff for me, brand new for them. And so I looked at Peter, and I thought, oh, they know Peter Graves, because Mission Impossible and all of these things we watched all the time. And I said, Peter, I'd like you to meet my folks. This is my dad. And I thought Peter would be impressed. Colonel John Hays. And he said, well, Colonel. And I said, my mom, Abby Hays. And he said, how do you do? And then they said, exchanged pleasantries. And Dad was never one that was, would just talk. If you finish what you have to say, then that's pretty much it. So they're standing there, and I'm thinking, what do you have? So, Peter, what you been doing lately? And he says, yeah, well, everything's just good. It's fine. I'm sort of a hankering for little boys lately. And I turned to my folks, and Dad's eyes were like that, my mom was like that. And I said, no, it's the movie. It's the movie. We're going to go to see the movie now. You don't. And they were like, what? And they were
Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Forgive me, I have to take this. I'll be right back. I'm so sorry. I'll be right back.
Well, should we answer the questions or ask the questions?
moderator.
Yeah, anybody have any moderating experience? We need a moderator. I think we do. We need a
Maybe someone that knows how to fly a plane.
Yeah, yeah. You know, that's just an idea of a moderator.
I never have known for sure, does he speak English?
I think you may have to blow on the thing.
Oh my gosh.
And then he talked.
Julie.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Thank you,
Okay.
Otto. I
Yeah.
really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Can Otto stay with us?
Do you mind if Otto sticks around for a little
Yeah.
while? Okay.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
Actually, Dan, we're kind of doing pretty well without you.
Just a few more members of the cast. Now, you had wanted Robert Stack.
Right.
You got Robert Stack. Talk about working with Robert Stack.
Oh, well, he was great, except, you know, we wanted the Robert Stack from the Untouchables, and he had this certain kind of rhythm of how he talked. And so I think there was that one bit where Kramer says it's his ship now, his command, he's the boss, the big cheese, and that was right from, actually from from Untouchables, but actually this one comedian,
That was the John Viner
the
album.
John Viner album.
Yeah.
And we actually stole those lines from the John. I'm not proud of this. But Robert Stack says, you know, in the first rehearsal, he says, it's his ship now. He's in charge. He's the boss, the big cheese. And Jerry is saying, no, Bob, you gotta do it. And he didn't want to give him a line reading, but he kind of, so he's following Stack around the set Jerry's doing John Viner.
Jerry's doing John Viner, doing Robert Stack.
Two Robert Stacks. It's crazy. So he got, but that was a scary moment. We were buying Robert Stack, so yeah.
But you do feel like he basically got what you were going for.
Oh, he did. You know, he got it right from the start, and he was he absolutely knew that we were, you know, making fun of him and Bridges and all these guys, that kind of acting style. Except Lloyd, in the first couple of rehearsals, well, first of all, he was trying to make sense out of his dialogue. That's always a mistake. You know, and he wanted to change his lines, and we couldn't understand why. And finally, Stack said, Lloyd, they're not listening to us. There's a spears going into the wall, and watermelons are crashing down. Just keep talking, Lloyd. So, and he did get it after a while.
There was one rehearsal period we had in a rehearsal room. There was one of those utility rooms for dance classes, so they have mirrors on the walls with the dance bar and the dance floor. And they had Jerry and David and Jim were there with Julie and me and Bob Stack and Lloyd Bridges. We were doing the rehearsing the cockpit to the tower scene. And Lloyd was just kind of scowling. He was just like, and I don't know if it was you or Jerry or somebody said, well, what's wrong, Lloyd? And he says, well, what are we doing here? And Bob Stack said, oh, come on, Lloyd. They just want us to be us. and he scowled a little more, and then he thought about it, and then you could just see it. You could see it happening, and he started getting it. Then he actually really got into it, right?
I have no memory of this.
Yeah. that was you know, there was a lot.
It must have been in the rehearsals, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I do understand that, so Lloyd Bridges, to that point, was kind of best known for this TV show, Sea Hunt, correct? Does anyone remember Sea Hunt?
There's a couple of 80-year-olds. It's very nice of you to show up.
But I understand that you tried to slip in a Sea Hunt joke into the... It was written in the script.
Oh.
The end of the film, after he said, I picked the wrong day to quit sniffing glue, and then he he jumps out, crashes through the glass, the tower. So then it cuts back to the tower. The next time we would have cut back to Lloyd, it was with him at the end of the runway, with the old double hose regulator, like in Sea Hunt, and a big single circular glass thing, doing this with the underlying dialogue like he always had in Sea Hunt. And he was saying, I didn't know the warrior eel was hidden behind the rocks. And he didn't want to do that, I heard, because he loved Sea Hunt and he held it in such high regard he didn't want to make fun of it. So that was cut out. Yeah, I had that in the script. Yeah. You've written so many things.
Forgot about that.
I do my research.
Yeah, you know more than I do.
All right, a couple more actors, and then we have some audience questions that I would like to get to. But since you've alluded so many times to Leave It to Beaver, and there's a whole Leave It to Beaver thing in Kentucky Fried Movie, please talk about getting Barbara Billingsley to please.
That's another one of these things where our first choice was Harriet Nelson. And we actually had a meeting with Harriet Nelson, but I think some of the script was
Harriet Nelson of Ozzie and Harriet.
Ozzie and Harriet was a little bit risque for her.
I met her. She came, for some reason, she was over there at the set of Angie. And I met her. She was one of the sweetest women you could ever possibly meet. Who remembers Ozzie and Harriet?
Some people remember seeing it.
Some of you. Yeah, but she was so sweet. And when I met her, she said, I almost played that role of, and she said, but I was just so afraid of some of the words, but I'm so sorry I didn't do it.
Another one, yes.
Yeah.
Like Vincent Price.
Yeah. But so our next choice was Barbara Billingsley, so June Cleaver. And she so filled the bill as the whitest lady on the planet. and these two guys that played the dudes, they taught her phonetically how to say those lines.
Al White.
Yeah, Al White and Norm Gibbs. Yeah. And in fact, they wrote all their own dialogue. We didn't. All we could do is these white Jewish kids from Milwaukee. All we knew is mofo, she. I don't know what we didn't know anything. So they kind of said, "Let us handle it," and they wrote the whole thing. And I think Al White looked up all this dialogue in books about this. John.
And then they coached her.
And they coached her, and they wrote their own lines. Yeah. And as did Steven Stucker, wrote his own lines.
Oh wow! You guys know Steven Stucker.
So Steve Stucker was the piano player in our Kentucky Fried Theatre show, and so we knew we had to put him in Airplane. And so, like for instance, the press conference dialogue, we knew what the questions were. We just didn't know how to write his answers, so we called him up on the phone while we were writing the Airplane, and we said, what kind of plane is it? And he says verbatim, "Oh, it's a big, pretty white plane with wheels and red stripes. It looks like a big tile on the right." And we just typed it in the script. And all of the things. What can you make out of this? Well, I can make a hat. That was done on our Kentucky Fried Theatre stage. Yeah.
Who's the person that said that?
All right.
I don't know.
What about getting
I guess an actor.
Ethel Merman?
Well, Howard, you can get anyone. I mean, everybody wants to be in a movie, evidently. So,
I mean,
Howard,
we need to give some credit to the great Howard W. Koch.
Howard Koch, yeah.
He was the producer of the Manchurian Candidate. Like, he was this very prestigious, great
and the president of the Motion Picture Academy, and one of the
Oscars every year.
The Oscars, and one of the conditions that Paramount put to us as, okay, we'll let you guys direct, but there's two conditions. You have to take our producer, past president of the studio, Howard W. Koch. We didn't know who Howard Koch was, and the second provision was they could fire us after 3 weeks. So, and we were fine with being fired. But we didn't know who Howard was, but he turned out to be, our man at Paramount. They meant him to be, their guy on our set.
So
He was amazing.
How did he get Ethel Merman?
Oh, Howard knew everybody. I mean, that's how he got Peter Graves. Howard knew Peter. Howard knew Robert Stack. He knew all these guys. And so, I don't know the details of it, but I imagine he called Ethel and said, Ethel, I've got a picture for you. I don't know, what do people say now?
Something just like an old Hollywood.
Yeah, no,
I've got a picture for you, Ethel.
Yeah, I don't know. Is there some story in the book that I'm forgetting?
No.
Okay.
I was just curious.
You're making this up.
I should have made something up, I'm sorry.
Yeah, right.
I'm gonna cross out the Ethel Merman
Yeah,
question.
cross out the Ethel. There's no big story. We just said we want Ethel Merman, she showed up.
You know what, we'll show this to a college audience and then we'll cut this.
But all she wanted to do was her only provision. She wanted to do her own hairdresser, and we said fine. So that's she had a very nice 1960s
Ethel Merman.
Ethel Merman hairstyle.
Yeah. It's copyrighted now.
Now, there's some actors that have since gone on to great prominence, and some of you will be aware of this, some of you might be surprised to learn. So, the air traffic controller is checking the radar range and says, what an asshole was.
That was
Banks, Jonathan Banks.
yeah, Jonathan Banks.
Jonathan Banks, who later went on to be Mike on Breaking Bad.
Better Call Saul. Yeah.
Did you guys know that? Is that incredible?
And we had the same law firm, so they just suggested, how about Jonathan Banks? So we asked him.
And then the great James Hong, who doesn't even have a line, who is in Everything Everywhere All at Once, plays the Japanese general who commits harikiri.
Yeah. Who knew? Yeah.
So cool.
All right, one more actor, and then I'm going to get to some audience questions here in a moment. What about the actress who is trying to apply her makeup throughout the film?
Oh, she was great. Yeah, I slept with her. Oh, I should explain. That's my mom.
Oh,
It's
God.
I think you just made it worse.
Yeah, I think I made it worse. I meant when I was 2. Yeah.
Well, you were only like a few months old.
Right, yeah. No, but 2-year-olds aware of a lot of things. I showed my son, Charles, Airplane.
At 2.
At 2, and all he could talk about was the boobies. And after that, we started watching softcore porn together. And for him, it was food. Yeah, that's right.
Let's get to some audience questions. You guys submitted some good questions.
Move on to something
Yeah,
else.
we're going to cut that in post
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Believe me. Although the college kids may like it, I don't know. All right. This is from Stephen, pronounced Stephen. That's what it says. Where are you, Stephen?
I'm up here.
Okay, hi, Stephen. Says, your work is often cited as one of the greatest comedies of all time. Did you know it would be while filming?
No, we just wanted it to be a hit so we could do another movie. And but we were very confident about Airplane because we had been telling everybody for 5 years, please, do this movie. It's going to be a big hit. So when it was a big hit, we weren't really surprised. But what was surprising is in the years since, how it's still funny and people love it, and it's just and that's been amazing. And so I get to do this, so this is fun, where I get a lot of attention.
There was a group of us standing, about 4 or 5 of us, and Dr. Davison, our line producer, and Hunt Lowry was associate producer, and a couple other guys, and I. And what had been happening is we showed the dailies, and normally in the dailies, I think that studios, especially with some films, they'll say, to the secretary or their assistant, you go watch it, would you tell me what it is? I've got to brush my teeth or something. Because some of them aren't very exciting, but with Airplane, they were having to show them over and over, like 4 times, because everybody in the studio wanted to get in and see him. So we're standing there in that little circle, and a young kid in the 20s, mid-20s, and he was a small part or an extra or something. He comes jaunting up to the thing. He said, "Hey, boy, I hear this thing is really going great. Could be a big hit." And of course, inside, what you're thinking is, "Wow, this thing could be like a cult film on a college campus. That would be really cool." And then you think, "Oh, maybe it could be a little more." And then you start thinking about it all because you don't want to accent. So this guy comes walking up and he's, "Wow, I hear this thing is really good. They say it's going to be a big hit." And everyone turned and walked away. It started kind of trying to get, but you don't want to think about that. You don't want to put a hex on it. So that was it, paying attention to it, not thinking about what kind of a hit it could be. If you knew that, you would control the world, by the way, wherever you are.
What was it like for you guys when it did blow up and became the monster hit? I mean, I remember, this is back in the days when, Jaws and Star Wars, and when films became these kinds of real blockbusters. I mean, I remember standing in line for kind of a long time to get into Airplane.
Well, Bob and I would go to the theaters and just sit in the back and watch. We'd stand in the back and watch. We loved to see the action.
I was shell-shocked in a fun way, in a good way. And I mean, it was so exciting. I had friends calling me up and saying, "Hey, we went to see a movie the other night and the trailer for your film was playing." And I said, "What, I mean, for Airplane?" They said, "Yeah." And they said, "Those are all the jokes, right?" And I said, "No." No. And it just broke the records everywhere. Box offices, every theater it played across the country. It was crazy. It was really something.
All right, so here's a question. It's a person didn't put their name on it, but it says, "To Robert Hays, did you get water up your nose or any place interesting in the beach scene?"
Yes.
I'm so sorry.
That was a 10,000-gallon tank. It was down at Sunset Beach, I think at the end of Zuma, the south end of Zuma. And Julie and I were positioned just below it, and they dropped the flap in the middle of it, pump it full from the rather chilly water, and fill it up, and then release the flap, and it just gushed over us for the close-up. And water got in the eyelids, and in your lips and ears, and everything. And it was pretty crazy. I mean, it was not comfortable. And I never noticed until the end when I kind of leaned up. There was a catfish right there. That's a freshwater fish.
Seems a live catfish
Yeah,
here.
flopping around right next to it.
This is from Danilo from Odessa in the Ukraine. Am I saying your name right? Yes. Okay, good. How did humor in cinema change since Airplane? Many jokes are not appropriate for today. If you were filming Airplane in 2025, what would you do differently?
Well, I get asked a lot that question, could you do Airplane today? And I always say, of course we could, just without the jokes. Because, things have gotten more sensitive. I think audiences are fine. I trust audiences. I mean, there's always 9% of people who maybe don't have a sense of humor or let something else intrude. But, the main thing is that today, in 2025, it's the studio boardrooms who are, probably keeping comedies from being made because they're frightened. So you get, there's no good movie comedy these days.
I go back to the Apatow quote from this book. I think you could make that movie today if you had Zucker, Abrams, and Zucker making it because you have to be funny enough.
Well, we had a script for Naked Gun 4. We called it Naked Gun 4, Nordberg did it. And it wasn't even set in an LA cop station. We always want to do something new. So
It kind of is an indication how good it would have gone over.
Yeah, so it would have been like Mission Impossible, international espionage thriller, and it would have been the son of Frank Drebin, but would have been a younger actor in his 30s, the low 30s, like Andy Samberg. But you can't go back and do the same thing over again. You have to. You need fresh ideas. So should I mention? I mean, they just did a Naked Gun 4, but they did. Yeah, they didn't use it. We had our script, they liked it, and then Seth MacFarlane came in and did and he brought in Liam Neeson. His idea was to try to recreate this 40-year-old idea of Naked Gun with the aging cop. You can't replace Leslie Nielsen. So, but these are, the director met with me at my house twice, and Seth MacFarlane called me, and these are nice people, and they mean well, and they idolize Naked Gun and Airplane and Top Secret, but it's a little bit like, Seth MacFarlane, he's like a crazed, psychotic serial killer. So I love you, so I must kill you. So he pretty much killed the franchise. Because they love it so much. Which, so.
Well, the mention of Nordberg leads me to our next question from Jan from Tacoma. What was it like directing O.J. Simpson?
I don't want to talk about it. We'll go to the next card.
Okay.
Damn.
The next card says, answer the last question.
All right, I'll just say this about that whole thing. The last I saw OJ was at the wrap party for Naked Gun 33 1/3. I said goodbye, shook hands. I sold him my knife collection, and I never
His acting was like his murdering. I mean, he got away with it, but nobody believed him.
Oh man. They worked with him on the Naked Gun movie.
Shaw from Buffalo, am I saying your name right? Where is Otto now?
Well, besides, actually, it's in my brother's basement.
Really?
Yeah, he actually has the original Otto.
Wow.
Yeah, hidden away, and it's in pretty good shape. And, someday the Smithsonian will get it. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All right. This is from Peter from Tacoma. Peter? Okay. Oh, you're right there. Okay. Did the script start out with the goal of extreme joke density, or did that evolve over time during the writing process?
It started out with the extreme joke density because this came from our doing our Kentucky Fried Theater show, and Jim and Jerry and I were actors in it. Acting is not our first talent, so we never wanted to be up on stage when there weren't jokes. So that live show was just joke.
I mean, pound for pound, that is like the most jokes in any film ever.
I think there was literally a couple of British scientists that did that, and they went through and they were going through all the comedies, the big top comedies.
That's why we have no cure for cancer now.
Right.
They're busy with scientists. Let's see how many jokes are in there.
And it had more jokes per second than any film in history.
Yes. All right, Bobby from North Bend. Bobby, where are you? Bobby? No? All right. Well, you should take credit for this. This is a fantastic question. Do you know what became of the topless lady in the panic scene?
I recently found out who she was, actually. It's somebody named Kitten Natividad.
She's like a Russ Meyer star, right?
Yeah, Russ Myers, yeah. And, yeah, and my son and I spent many happy hours watching it.
All right. Paula from Maryland asks, Top Secret is one of my favorite movies. A few people agree with Paula. Do you have any stories you want to share from the making of that film?
Oh, there's many great stories. I can't remember any right now, but you know, Val was great to work with. He was moody a lot, and then we figured out that maybe it was because we didn't give him a character in that. So, and we kind of learned from Top Secret. And Omar Sharif, I got to work with Omar Sharif. He was in Lawrence of Arabia, and all these
Dr.
Dr. Zhivago, all these great. So we were totally blown away by, you know, got to direct Omar Sharif. And so about 3 or 4 weeks into filming, we organized this huge party in his honor at Hunt Lowry's flat. That we were doing it in London, and we were in South Kensington. And we prepared all the finest wines because he knew, you know, he was a connoisseur of everything, and the finest foods, and, you know, and he never showed up. That was.
All right, just 2 more quick questions. How did you simulate the sweat that Ted Stryker produced?
They threatened not to pay me. Does anybody know what a Hudson sprayer is?
I don't. What is that?
It looks like a fire extinguisher. And you know, the long thing with the ring around the top, and then you pump it up. Farmers use it for weeds and spraying, you know, stuff in the crops. They had one of those, and it had the tube. And instead of having the little sprayer, they put an extension of a tube that went up my back, out of my shirt, up the back of my hair, and then there was a circle, and in the front poked little holes, and they filled it up with water, and they pumped it all up. So then they could turn the little nozzle, and they could increase the water coming down. And so it got more and more and more and more. And what you don't see is at the end, it's like a total Niagara Falls. Really, you couldn't see, it was so solid. But that was the secret. So don't tell anybody.
All right, last question. Did you think that the humor would still be appreciated so many years later?
Well, I don't think we even thought about it. We just were happy that the movie was a hit. And but I think I mentioned before, we never dreamed that it would still be, you know, this appreciated all these years later. And I think, yeah, I don't know.
If something's funny, it's funny. And I don't know, I'm sure that a lot of you people like older films too. And I love the films in the 20s and 30s and 40s. And there are scenes that are just so well done that you can't help it. It grabs you by surprise and it makes you laugh. And that's the thing about this, is the boys were perfect as capturing lightning in the bottle. They wrote the thing so funny, the timing was perfect, but they were the ones, like when David said they knew they wanted to direct it. They had to be the ones that directed, and they really did, because anybody else, even a really, really great director, they would have made it polished and whatever, and some stuff maybe funny. But these guys knew exactly what they wanted. It was a new line they knew, and they had the timing for it. And that's why it's lasted so long, I think. Because funny is just funny.
And my favorite gags from really are timeless, and I always think of that one scene with Leslie talking to Lorna Patterson and saying, "How are you bearing up?" And she says, "Well, I'm scared. I've never been so scared. And besides, I'm 26 and I'm not married." And then the other lady comes in and he says, "How are you bearing up?" She says, "I'm scared. I've never been so scared, but at least I have a husband." And you know, nobody's trying to be funny. It was all done in one shot. there was no coverage, and that's always going to be funny, a joke like that.
And I would just say this, and this is just my own personal addition, that there are jokes that are extra rewarding if you get the reference. The film reference, there's that sequence where the soldier is saying goodbye to his sweetheart as he's about to ascend the stairs and he throws his watch. And that is a direct homage to a David O. Selznick film, Since You Went Away. Most people don't know Since You Went Away, but you understand what that scene is. You understand that it is an old-timey farewell as someone is getting on a train, except he's getting on a plane. And you know what? Funny is just funny. So is it extra rewarding if you get the reference? Sure. But honestly, the one thing that I will say that you guys did so beautifully in that film that does make it timeless is, regardless of the reference, everything is funny. There is nothing that to me was funny 45 years ago that isn't funny today. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
I think about one of my favorite scenes in the film is, and it's just funny because it's done so well. The timing's so great, and they're so serious about it, which is the key ingredient, one of the key ingredients, and that's Peter and Leslie behind the cockpit. How long before you can land this plane? I can't tell you. You can tell me, I'm a doctor. Can't you take a guess? No, not for another 3 hours. You can't take a guess for 3 hours. It was so serious. And it was one of those, it was like a Who's on the Nerd or something. But it's timeless. And I still think that Abbott and Costello's Who's on Third, especially when you see the earliest ones of it, are hilarious. And I think this is going to stay funny. That scene is one of the examples in Airplane that is just going to stay funny.
Absolutely. Anyway, guys, I know we are out of time. Thank you so much for coming.